Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack on Productions. Today I, Bancroft, will be joined by Jimmy, Jake, and like always, Fluff.
Hello, everyone. I am Jimmy.
I'm not saying anything.
I was like, are we all just gonna sit in silence? What up, people?
We have to take pauses in between because we don't want to hurt our throats talking for this hour and a half long Topo match.
I feel like it's going to be about 22 minutes.
Bancroft, you're cheating. You're reading the thing. Shut up. We have to take long pauses and stretch out all of our words so that
we've passed the 30-second mark now, so shut the fuck up.
Bancroft,
Got him. Got him.
Bancroft, you smell funny, big head.
Shut you the fuck up.
Today's duel is Fluff playing Toppo Lock versus Jake's Cooler Mill. And we didn't really go over it yesterday's duel. Battle, Galactic Combat, whatever you want to call it, Heat 3000.
Gladiatorial combat.
Thank you. I forgot the words. That's why I was just ranting on. I completely forgot the words. I'm like, it's glad something combat. Okay, there we go. But like always, if you enjoyed the content, hit those buttons because everyone has a fetish. We know you do too. Yeah, that's
I like that it's went from a button clicking fetish to just straight up a fetish.
I mean,
it's like, hey, if you got hey, shout out to all my boys that got a fetish out there. Click that like button.
Can I make a request? Can we get a screenshot of the people on Facebook that were talking about how good our commentary is over top of the intro to this and just have it slowly pan out? Like,
yeah, I'm gonna need that.
So take it away.
Man.
All right, I'm gonna step away so you guys could just
So we're two turns in. Toppo Lock is set up. Fluff is awakening, and I'm gonna give it over to him to give his thought process of this turn.
Honestly, there wasn't a lot to do. Everyone is pretty tired of seeing Toppo Lock at the shop, I think, and everyone is pretty practiced against it. So people have kind of realized that if they spend their energy against me, I'm just going to get advantage. So I think there were multiple matches during this night specifically that people would just pass with 2 open energy. And so like turn 1, I didn't have a good play. Turn 2, I had Unite Assemble. And really, honestly, I should have been charging those Unite Assembles, because I don't think they were relevant at any point in this match, because Cooler is just one of those decks that always wants to be reactionary.
Yeah, and I was pretty religious about leaving energy open this game. And against a deck like Toppo Lock, where you know the aggression is kind of modulated just by virtue of what you're playing against.
Yeah.
You don't really have to defend against an extended assault. So I'm happy to take this early damage to add cards to my hand.
Yeah. And I knew that I didn't want to awaken you. So instead of swinging with the Bardock that was pretty much just to get me draws, I tapped it with the Unison, swung with Unison, and put you at 5.
Which was a very astute play, because you could probably tell that like if you watched my game with Nick, I'm happy to sit at 3 life for a while with this deck, and that would have just given me more gas.
Yeah. It really would have.
I feel like baiting people with Cooler is one of the strongest things that Leader has, because necking is not very niche in the game now. But as a baby player early on, I would actually really like my opponent to swing and then combo out just to be able to neg out. Yeah. So I know Fluff doesn't run a lot of triple strike, but if you were at 3 life and he comboed all the way out on a triple strike, it's like, okay, I'm just going to board a couple coolers and just kill out that card right there. And,
Yeah. Mill you a couple and I'm going to draw a card for my trouble.
Yeah. Like Cooler has a lot of like strong, like bait and catch setups.
Yeah.
And that's probably the strongest thing the deck has overall, other than just being like a pretty decent mid-range deck.
This kind of comes towards knowing the matchups and knowing how to play against them. knowing what Cooler does, seeing what he's charged in his energy, kind of gives me information about what he's playing in his deck. So I know that he's running Tyrannical Blow. So I'm constantly and purposefully discarding things to keep my hand at 10.
Oh, you mean Tyranny's Cost?
Tyranny's Cost. I think I said Tyrannical Blow, but Tyranny's Cost, sorry. Knowing that Jake runs those, I'm never going to give him additional value on that card. So I'm keeping my hand at 10. I know that Cooler's never going to apply me with so much pressure that I can't get out with 10 good cards in my hand. So I'm constantly comboing. So I comboed off the draw 8. I think I'm at 9 cards right now. I just go in and burn U9 Assemble. So that gets rid of 1. I'm still at 10 cards.
Yeah, Tyranny's only affects you once you hit 11. So,
So I also know that based on the way that Cooler plays, Jake really wants me to board multiple battle cards so that he can neg them and mill me for more and try, because Toppo plays a really long game. So I know if I'm putting multiple targets out, Bardock is kind of at that perfect stage where Cooler can't easily, or Cooler can get its mill effects off on it without killing it, so they can get that mill every turn. But if I were to just put a Chappelle out here, it's gone instantly, and I mill another card. If I put a Basil out, it's gone instantly, and I mill another card. So I'm purposefully not playing other battle cards because I don't want to get milled out.
and from the way I've been playing the game so far, it's pretty obvious to you at this stage that I'm going for the mill kill because I haven't touched the leader since turn 3, I don't think.
Yeah. It really kind of became obvious that was the route that you were choosing to take. So if I could slow that down by not playing extra battle cards, then that's what I was gonna do.
And I feel like when I was talking to Jake in our matchup that night, running the Gogeta package, especially the OG SR, the one that when it hits the field, it burns 2 if your opponent has no battle cards in play.
Yeah.
Is such a good card in Cooler.
Yeah.
Because one of the main plays against Cooler is not putting battle cards on your field.
Yeah.
But now you get into this rut of, okay, if I put no battle cards, now I have to worry about being burned to. But if I put battle cards, I have to worry about being milled. And that's what Cooler really needed, was to force your opponent into a bad position where they're damned if they do, damned if they don't, because used to you just put no cards on field, swing with your leader in unison. It was,
Leave your own energy up to counterplay the coolers during the combo step and then continue your turn. It was the classic anti-cooler strategy.
Yeah, and like Cooler had nothing to do against that, but now with the Gogeta package, that gives Cooler a lot of options in that case.
Well, so when I mentioned earlier that Jake's energy charges were informative, I wouldn't have, I know that Jake really likes this Gogeta line, but I would have never, had he never charged a Vegeta, had he never charged a Gogeta, I wouldn't have expected him to play that. And I might have played this game with that in mind. Where I might not have had anything on the field, and then I'm just going to lose 2 life at any point. But because I'm expecting at some point that Gogeta to come down, I'm going to be as defensive as possible and try to, if not prevent that, be ready for it when it does hit.
And Jimmy and I talked a little about this too. I was kind of feeling a little bit discouraged, and he was like, you have to remember that I was kind of discouraged about brewing decks, and he was like, you have to remember that every deck you brew with us, so we know everything you're gonna do before you do it.
Yeah. Well, and we've been playing together for so long that oftentimes that we know the lines of play that each other are going to make, and it's very, if you watch Bancroft play against Toppo Lock, which you all will get to see in the next day or two, Bancroft knows that deck so well that he will sequence his turns in the perfect way to minimize the strength and it almost cripples Toppo Lock because of how he plays against it. But, you know, we have all kind of played like the same thing. Like when Jimmy plays Dark Brawly or Baby, I'm aware of that. When you play Cooler or Beer, when you were on Beerus really hard, and then now that you've been on Brawly or Bulma, like I got to the point where I could almost predict what you were doing, but there's still this like really good chess match headspace that you thrive in really well as a player. And it makes me think really hard about what I'm doing. And I can't remember if it's this turn or the turn after. You make a move that really puts me in an awkward, odd position in moving forward. And I didn't know how to handle it.
This was kind of hard in my matchup with Jake because I'm used to Jake playing something like Broly, which is a somewhat linear deck, and that's what I've gotten used to over the past couple of weeks. And then he plays Cooler, which is a very modular deck that has two very distinct outcomes.
Yeah.
Or, well, I want to say it's a modular path to those two very distinct outcomes versus Broly,
right.
which is a very chain heavy deck. I really didn't know what to do. Like, I ended up taking the game with Jake, but it was a very nerve-wracking game where I was just all over the place during the match. Like, I had no clue what I was going to be doing next.
It came down to Jimmy making a move, and he was like, "Are you dead?" And I was like, "Does this ability work this way?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, then, yeah." He was like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm dead."
Well, we have two Cooler players at the shop. You know, Austin's been playing Cooler very religiously. You've recently started playing Cooler, and I think you played it back when too.
Well, I really played it because of Austin. Like, he came to us one weekend asking for tips on his Cooler list, and then he brought up the Gogeta package in Cooler, and at the time everyone else in the room kind of dismissed it, and while everybody else went and worked on or was working on Austin's list, I'm on Untapped building this Cooler Gogeta list.
Yeah. I remember, well, let me finish what I was saying, and then I'll comment on that, because I think you and I talked about that after your Untapped session. But you and Austin play Cooler completely differently. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Austin when I say this, but I'm used to playing against Austin's Cooler style, not necessarily yours, where yours is his is reactive and crackback, but yours has your own personal tech options in it. The Gogeta line, which is just a whole nother threat that just amplifies what Cooler already wants to do. It punishes your opponent for doing stuff. And it really puts, you know, as the Toppo Lock player, I'm the one that's supposed to punish for you doing shit. And now I'm being forced to choose to not do stuff when I'm already limiting myself on doing stuff because I don't want to get punished by you.
Right.
And this is that punishment here. In my head, I was like, don't swing with the lead. But I was like, no, I've got to apply the pressure. I have to bait out a super combo if he's got one. I was like, but if he has a super combo, he's going to punish me. So I'm going to do it anyway. And against my better judgment, I got punished here. And it put me in a position where now I have to consider what I'm doing and how I move forward. And if you notice, I just burned one of my masked sands in the drop area.
Yeah, you got milled.
I got milled. I've got one in hand that I was holding specifically to deal with your Gogeta. That was my out to your Gogeta. And so I'm now put in this position where I don't know what to do. Do I try to fend off two double strike Cooler swings, or do I try to get rid of the Coolers now?
And
go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's a strength of a rival, because I wanted to touch on this. Something we've learned playing against Fluff's Toppo Lock is that playing on his turn is probably the best thing you can do if you're a very battle card heavy deck.
Yeah.
Because you see Fluff's removing that because he doesn't want to deal with two Coolers passing turn, because Jake was able to put a battle card on field, and then if you were to pass, he had 2 coolers and then still had the freedom to put another battle card on field without proccing the Toppo Lock effect.
Yep.
And he was going to be able to establish like a Gogeta setup, or if he really wanted to, he could go into another cooler or whatever he needed to do.
And here I spend too many cards comboing because I'm going to make a play that I then realize is illegal. So I don't do anything else, and Fluff continues his turn, or Fluff passes the turn to me.
Yeah, this was really hard because what you said to me was, "Yeah, I'm going to do a lot here," and then you comboed like 3 cards, and you were like, "Yeah, it doesn't work like that," and then you just kind of passed, and I would have let you take those combos back.
Yeah, but I don't know. I should pay for my mistakes. You know what I mean? What I was going to do is combo with another super combo, like I did, Bean and restand 2 energy, pay a blue energy for Hercule and Boo, put a cooler back in my hand, neg the ape another 10, kill it, mill you another card, draw a card from Hercule Boo, put a cooler back in my hand, and then replay the cooler in the same combo step, neg the Saiyan, you mill 2 more, and now I have 3 battle cards. But Toppo Lock prevented me from doing that.
Also, if you would have pulled back the cooler, the battle would have been over with. Did I hear that right? Unless I misheard that.
I would have pulled the active mode one back probably, because I didn't see that play. But yeah, I could have ended the battle that way as well.
Well, the active mode was gone, wasn't it, by that point?
Yes.
You're right. You're right. So yeah, the cooler coming back to my hand would have ended the battle, so I wouldn't have gotten to replay it, but I would have got to reload it to my hand.
Oh, for sure.
And then I would have had an active mode Hercule Boo, which I could have then comboed off to arrival another cooler.
And I knew if I couldn't get rid of the 2 coolers on your side of the field that I was going to lose my unison. And knowing my hand, I just didn't have the ability to defend that many threats adequately. But I am still at 6 life, so I'm not afraid of you killing me so much, but I am afraid of the pressure that I can't come back. So you board the Gogeta. Of course, you kill the cooler, or you kill the unison like you thought I would. Jimmy is standing over my shoulder right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I swing with lead. And I'm praying and hoping to everything that's holy that I draw a card, a specific card.
So you're hoping for the RNG, is what you're saying?
I'm hoping for, my hand is limited negates. I have no solutions to dealing with that Gogeta. I'm just going to lose. Like, if I don't get this draw, I think Jake beats me in 2 turns. Like, in my head, I'm losing in 2 turns.
Think about this.
Yeah, so,
if you would have done the other way around, this RNG may have been completely different too.
Yeah. Yep.
and at this moment, like I'm looking at Fluff's hand, I like I said, I was standing over his shoulder, and I kept seeing him favor 1 card in his hand that probably would have dragged out the game a little bit longer. But I was sitting there looking at this card, and I was like, "Don't do it, Fluff! Don't do it, Fluff!" I wasn't going to say anything, but then he drew into Mecha Gabora.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
top deck right off of the leader swing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of went into like Vietnam flashbacks when I saw Mecha Gabora, when I have a good Gogeta 6 on the table. I played against Sin Shenron a lot in a webcam event I played in, and I played Gogeta line Bulma. I just got ripped every game, and it happened again here. I probably could have played the rest of the game better and maybe won, but I just got really tilted after this and didn't play to the best of my ability from here on out.
Well, and Jimmy just pointed out, like we talked about it following this match, but the amount of luck that really required. Had I swung with lead first, I would have drawn a Flying Nimbus, and then you would have milled. I would have milled the Mecha.
Mm-hmm.
had I sequenced any differently, it really was luck that happened. There's
And you were favoring negative energy balls in your hand.
I was favoring negative energy. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't think that would have ended the game there, obviously, but I feel like it would have dragged out the game a couple extra turns, and that could have give Jake a chance to come back.
Yes.
And the fact that you were able to draw into Mecha Gabora like that is what easily got you the game. Like,
and my hand is just a bunch of stuff that is super susceptible to Jake's milling. If I put it, or negging effects, if I put anything on the field or spend the energy to put anything on the field, it's just instantly gone. I mean, you saw almost how effortlessly he kills, a 35,000 Gogeta. It's going to happen to a 15k Chappelle or a 5k Basil.
Mm-hmm. And Jake knows how devastating that Gogeta is when it's on field, and that's why he spent so many resources on negging it out and getting it off your field.
Yeah.
Well, I was also kind of seeing red at this point. I might have been better off leaving it on the table, playing the Jiren, leaving the exploiting weakness in my hand, making him think he could push harder, because he does, if I'm not mistaken, play a battle card here.
Well,
yeah.
About to, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think I could have played better, but I saw the Gogeta hit the table, and I just was mentally out of it at that point. And you saw me pick up my cards kind of quickly there. I'm obviously not happy about it, but if you can't take losing, you probably shouldn't play. You know what I mean?
And we talked very extensively about this, and like, you're my dude. Like, you've kind of earned your place in my world of friendship, and we learned through trial and mistake. And Toppo Lock is just that deck that burns the mistakes. And if you're frustrated about something like this, a loss like this, I want you to say something. Like, I want you to talk to me. Let's talk it through. What could we have done differently? What were the other lines of play there? I think I was only on 8 cards or less left in deck. And it would have been super easy for you to mill me out if you had the defensive hand capable of dealing with a double strike Vegeta turn.
I don't remember if I did or not. I think I had a Topo in hand, so I would have been able to at least negate the attack and maybe extend my turn a little bit. But
Yeah.
as I always say, when we get into these hypothetical situations, the world may never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. It's unfortunate, but yeah. With that being said, we're going to wrap this up. Jimmy?
If it burns when you pee, you probably look like Toppo or play Toppo Lock.
Okay. Jake?
If you want to win, you have to practice. And Toppo Lock's a perfectly good deck that I don't think really sees enough representation nationwide, but is pretty dominant at our locals when it comes in. So, that practice, I guess.
And with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you all enjoy. Click those buttons. And with that being said,
Toppo Lock is an incredibly good deck, but does have auto loss games that I cannot figure out with Toppo Lock. Hopefully we can feature some of those on the channel at some point. As always, read your cards, know your place.